5 things. Not one of them is a product. You already own number 1. It's in a drawer in your kitchen. Here's everything else. Ask for 2 different numbers at your next blood draw, 1745 to 1915. Remember the number I told you to hold on to? The one that's been climbing quietly while your glucose sat flat? You can't order it yourself. You can walk in and ask for it properly. Most standard panels give you fasting glucose and a lipid profile. 2 measurements that go missing carry earlier information. Fasting insulin. That's the one. It maps directly onto the overtime I showed you at 7 minutes, the work your pancreas has been doing off the books. Triglycerides, often already sitting on your panel, glanced at instead of read in context. Those 2, with fasting glucose, let a clinician calculate derived indices, HOMA-IR, or the triglyceride glucose index. Meta-analyses of the TYG index find meaningfully elevated cardiovascular hazard in the highest versus lowest quartile in people with and without diabetes. Predictive, not proven causal. An interpretation belongs to a clinician who knows your history, not to you and a search bar at 11 at night. Your job in that room isn't to arrive with a diagnosis, it's to arrive with a better question. 1 sentence. Can we look at fasting insulin and at my triglyceride to glucose relationship, not just each number alone? That's the entire ask. It takes 9 seconds and it changes what comes back. Load the muscle, non-negotiable, 1915 to 2100. Cardio is genuinely good for you. I'm not talking you out of your run. But cardio doesn't address anabolic resistance, and it doesn't rebuild the tissue that clears most of your glucose. Resistance training does 2 things at once that nothing else does. It supplies the mechanical stimulus that makes the protein on your plate usable, and it maintains the largest glucose disposal site you own. If you're doing 0 right now, the honest starting dose is 2 sessions a week of compound movements. Something that loads the legs, something that pushes, something that pulls. Progressive over months, not weeks. Consistency across years beats intensity across weeks, and it isn't close. On protein, the literature on preserving lean mass during weight loss clusters around roughly 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, alongside supervised resistance training. That range comes from clinical trials. Whether it fits you depends on your kidney function, your medications, your history. That's a conversation with a professional, not a rule from a video. And now the part I've been saving, because I think it's the most hopeful data in this whole field. Among Masters athletes, VO2 max decline ranges from about 5% per decade to about 46% per decade. Same decades, same calendar, same species. Training volume explained about half of that spread in men and roughly 40% in women. Small studies, mostly male, so hold it loosely. But sit with the size of that gap. -5 versus -46. Whatever is producing that distance, the birthday isn't doing most of the work. A large part of what we call cardiorespiratory aging is deconditioning that happens to correlate with the calendar. If you lose weight, the rate matters, 2100 to 2150. If you decide to lose weight, the speed matters more than anyone tells you. Rapid loss amplifies lean mass loss relative to fat loss, which sets up something almost cruel. An aggressive deficit, with inadequate protein and no resistance training, can worsen your body composition while improving your scale reading. You would be building the exact phenotype this video is about, and being congratulated the entire time. If you have a history of disordered eating, or if tracking food has caused you problems before, this section is one to work through with a professional rather than alone. That isn't legal padding, that's the actual right call. If you're on a GLP-1, 2150 to 2315, large and growing group, you deserve accuracy, not a headline. Across the DEXA sub-studies of the major trials, lean tissue accounted for roughly 25 to 40% of total weight lost. Now the part that almost never survives the trip to a thumbnail. In one of those trials, the placebo group lost the same proportion, about a quarter of their weight as lean mass. Read that twice. This is largely a weight loss phenomenon. Let me put it back together. Your metabolism did not slow down in your 30s. 6,000 people, 29 countries, gold standard measurement. Energy expenditure is essentially flat from 20 to 60. What changed was composition and distribution. Lean mass down, fat up at a stable weight, and fat migrating out of the compartment that tolerates it into compartments that don't. Your standard blood panel is late because your pancreas spent years successfully covering for the problem by working overtime. And I want to be careful with how you hear that. That is not a failure of your body. That is your body doing precisely what it was built to do, protecting you so competently that nobody thought to check the cost. The bill for that overtime is a number nobody ordered. Aging itself may not even be a line. It may cluster in windows, around 44, around 60, which would explain why this feels like something that arrived rather than something that accumulated. And you don't have one metabolic age. You have as many as you have organs, and they don't travel together. Here's what I want you to walk away with after 26 minutes. The most informative measurement available to you costs about $4 and is sitting in a drawer 20 feet from you. Waist divided by height, every 3 months, at stable body weight. The most informative conversation available to you is one sentence to your physician about fasting insulin and triglycerides. Not because those numbers are magic, because they move first. And the most reliable intervention in the entire literature isn't exotic, isn't purchasable, and isn't new. Load your muscles, feed them properly, do it for years instead of weeks. Not one of those three requires you to buy anything from anyone. I'd like that to be the most encouraging sentence you hear this week. 2 things before you close this. First, the tape measure. Now, while it's still in your head, because in 20 minutes it won't be, waist divided by height. Write it down with today's date. 90 days from now, that one line in a notebook will have told you more than the scale told you in 10 years. Second, subscribe. Next week, the one lab value almost nobody orders and almost everybody should understand. If this video annoyed you in a useful way, that one will finish the job. And if you know someone who walked out of an appointment with a clean panel and still doesn't feel right, send them this. That person is the entire reason I made